2015. Obviously there's issues with getting people in, but we are quoted. I'd like to remind members that anything that's said is being recorded and can be used for public consumption later on. We have Sederunt apologies.
Good morning. We have 4 members present today, and I have apologies from Councillor Collins, Councillor Peacock and Councillor Wiper. Councillor Crothers, Councillor Hislop, Councillor Mail, Councillor McCutcheon may be along in a moment.
And if they're not, we can put their apologies in. Obviously, we understand what's happened with Councillor Collins, and I think from the committee we would send our best wishes for a speedy recovery. Okay. Going to any declarations of interest? Okay, and then we'll go to the minute of the meeting of 25th of November 2014. We agree that is a true record. Stephen?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's just under where is it, number 7 in the minute, just where we agreed to get the further report submitted to the next committee on overtime payments. So I presume that would be this committee, and I noticed there are appendices in a couple of the monitoring reports. But I think we were expecting the report, so it was just to, when's that coming, basically?
Chair, if I may, we have fulfilled the minute requirement by putting it into the monitoring reports. If you wish further information, then we'll do our best to supply it.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that, Bill. I think what we'd agreed on was a report, though, and you'll notice at the top it'll say minute or report or appendix, and I think what we've got is appendices and not a report. So maybe we could collate and bring together the information in the form of a report, which is what I think we agreed, or that was the spirit of the agreement anyway. So if we could maybe take that on board, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to item number 4, which is the Revenue Budget Monitor Report for 2014-15 for the period ending 30th of November 2014. The department is predicting a small underspend of £3,000, as shown as the table at paragraph 3.2. The key issues are discussed at paragraph 3.3 to 3.8, and as requested by members, paragraph 3.9 outlines income from fines and penalty notice, and paragraph 3.10 and appendix 2 gives an analysis of overtime within DGFirst. The overall agreed savings target will be met, and we should see appendix 3 for that. Is there anything to add to that, Bill?
No, Chair.
If there's any questions? George?
Just a comment. There seems to be a head of steam arising in local papers about potholes here and potholes there, and as far as I can gather, half the potholes really aren't our responsibility. They're in private places, and yet the newspapers seem to get a hold of these sort of things and just generally build a head of steam out of it. I don't know if Bill wants to comment on that or not.
I think, Councillor Prentice, there are 2 things to say. We undertook our 6-monthly survey in November, and that showed a continuing fall in the number of potholes, which I think is a result of the first-time permanent work that we're doing. Also, at the moment, this is the season where carriageway defects appear, so we expect to get some flack at this time of year, but my roads manager has released contingency funds to increase the amount of spend on defect repair, so it's that time of year.
I think also, obviously, there are private roads that we can't be seen to, if they are private roads owned by the householders and things like that, we need to make sure that where we spend our monies on the council's trunk roads and possessions of roads that we have through the towns and villages through Dumfries and Galloway. There has been an increase in insurance claims and things like that, but that's dealt with through our insurers. But I think in the main, in the border TV side of things, there was a discussion on Cumbria and how the private roads there were being affected, unadopted roads. Yeah. Stephen?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, just on the back of that, is it something we can do as a committee to maybe get a message out, just saying, you know, we are obviously working hard to address through revenue budgets, etc., the potholes in the roads, but that not all roads are the responsibility of the council. Or just maybe clarify that, you know, if it's a private road or another owner, that, you know, it's not just, don't just start off with the council, because we are working hard to resolve it. And the actual question was actually on waste collection service, obviously in 3.5 on page 6 of the report. Any additional costs are now going to be dealt with through the commissioning department. So I'm just wondering, that 115 overspend there reported, is that basically the extent to which this committee is going to report on that, and then anything additional or over and above, or the final report will then go to EEI committee? So we can take that as a final figure. Is that a correct understanding?
It's not quite as simple as that. There are two different issues. There is the higher than expected costs for zero waste collection in the West, but there's also the quite serious reduction in commercial customers that has reduced the income. So the reduction in income is, if you like, DGFirst's issue, but the increased costs for delivering zero waste is an EEI responsibility. Caroline would like to add.
Okay, Caroline?
If I could just add, we now have all the income in for this year from the commercial waste customers. So the 115 is based on a full year's costs or income. So in that respect, I don't think it should move significantly. It might move a little bit, but it won't move significantly.
John?
Aye, it's just on that, as I say, I think it's quite an excellent report, like the £3,000 underspend compared to where we worked out a few years ago with the, as I say, we were tens of thousands overspend, like, that seems to be a very positive, just as Stephen's saying, like, and I think part of the thing we've got with the potholes as well, like, as I say, it come up in the board, as Archie said, in Border Television last night, people were claiming, putting claims into the council for potholes, whereas we're doing a survey, right, we've got surveyed them right over the area, but as I say, they couldn't understand if they damaged their car in a pothole, why the council wasn't responsible if it hadn't been reported. So, as I say, it's pretty much the same here. If a pothole's not reported, how do we know? As I say, it could appear after we've done the survey. So, it was to do with the compensation claims last night, the amount it was going in, plus unadopted roads. That seemed to be the main problem. Like, people still think unadopted roads are the policy, to the council.
Anything else? Can we go with the recommendations in? Members are asked to note 2.1, based on the position at the end of November 2014, DGFirst is projected to underspend by £3,000 as reflected in Appendix 1. That DGFirst are currently, 2.2 sorry, that DGFirst are currently progressing a range of measures to ensure the avoidance of any budget overspend in the current financial year. Right. And 2.3, the progress against the delivery of agreed savings applied to 2014-15 DGFirst budget as detailed in Appendix 2. Stephen?
And is it something that the committee would share with in terms of getting a message out, possibly just to emphasise what the council is actually doing and what we're responsible for, and emphasise that we have to report potholes before they can be addressed, etc.? Or is that something that you can pick up with the comms unit or something like that?
I'll take an action to talk to the comms unit about that and get that out to the press and the media. We're going to item 5, which is the trading operations monitor report for 2014-15 for the period ending 30th November 2014. The department is currently predicting a small surplus of £1,455. The key issues are discussed at paragraph 3.3 3.7 with an analysis of overtime at paragraph 3.8 in Appendix 2. And paragraph 3.9 shows a significant contribution to overheads that DGFirst trading operations generates. Have you anything to add to that, Bill?
No, thank you, Chair, but happy as always to take questions.
Members, any questions? Stephen?
It was just one, it was just more my lack of understanding. In 3.5, it's got expenditure on non-direct costs is predicted to be higher than last year, mostly due to increased capital financing and departmental overhead charges. I was just wondering if that could maybe be expanded a little bit to help my understanding. Thank you.
I'll pass that one to Caroline and put an editorial touch at the end of it. Thank you.
Chair, in terms of the capital financing, these are based on the equipment that we've got now. One of the things that we did was buy some equipment that then we had previously been leasing. And so obviously that attracts loans charges. Now, they are a book entry. So in effect, as far as the council is concerned, we're making more money, but then we get that charge. So that's what that is. We have got a reduction in the lease costs, which is compensated reasonably fully for that. Departmental overhead charges, it's basically the reallocation of some of those charges. Basically, we had been charging other sections a bit too little and roads a little bit the road section was charged a little less than they should have been last year. And so when I was reallocating the overhead allocations, that has resulted in them being slightly higher than they were last year. Obviously, with the savings measures that have been agreed and are being implemented this year and next, that overhead should decline. So it should be a temporary blip rather than a permanent one.
That's very helpful, thank you.
If I, Chairman may, Caroline referred to new equipment. The payback period for that new equipment is slightly less than 2 years in terms of cost benefit because, and the other side of it is that it's also more reliable than the leased equipment that we're having. As Caroline also said, these blips are sorted out in the budget process and equalised, so it is a one-off for this year.
Anybody else? We'll go to the recommendations then. Members are asked to note that based on the first 8 months expenditure, the trading operation is currently projected to return a surplus of £1,455. Are we happy with that recommendation? Okay. Okay, we're going to item 6, which is the DGFirst Stress Action Plan. At our last meeting, it was agreed that the Department's Stress Action Plan would be reported to this meeting. The action plan forms the appendix to the report, and as stated in paragraph 3.2, its aim is to ensure that measures to reduce work-related stress and related absences are owned by the service management teams. Have you got anything to add to that?
No, Chair, but James McDowell and I will be happy to take any questions that members have on the action plan.
Members? There's just one thing I'd like to ask, Bill. Obviously, there's a lot of responsibility and accountability on managers and things like that, and we don't want to be increasing the stress on managers as well as the employees as well. Have we got enough resource to carry this out?
I think we do, and we're it's a subject that is being discussed at all levels of management. We're looking at providing additional mental health awareness for all our management teams, just to give them some of the tools that they need to deal with these issues.
It's just I'm wondering, as the budgets are being cut and there's, as I say, staffing is going down, there's more and more pressure being put onto certain managers and people and that because of the workload increasing. I'm just wondering how we're going to manage. Do we keep an eye on the amount these people, can anybody that is getting extra workload put onto them, like, as I say, it's not a thing they would like to go and say I'm stressed out because of this, like, to their manager. So I'm just wondering how we balance that kind of out.
It is, in any savings measure, one of the things that we look at is the impact on staff, and we try to balance the workload. Some of the savings are generated by efficiencies where, for example, a new computer system is introduced, and that allows us to take a saving by reducing staff who would have previously done manual work. So we try, as part of the process, to spread the work evenly.
Stephen?
Thank you, Chair. It's just a couple of points in the actual action plan. For the managing absence, the completion date 31st of March, obviously that's coming up soon, and there's an evidence of completion. Is that something we'll be able to see in the next report that's detailing, you know, the percentage figure for absence from work?
As you're aware, Councillor, the absence is one of the key performance indicators within the business plan, so it will be reported as part of the normal reporting.
So it was a sort of 3 points, I'll just get them out of the way. Like, similarly, some staff are not clear on their role and responsibilities line in the table there. Again, a completion date of 31st of March. Evidence of completion, is that again, I mean, is that, I can't remember if that's, is that a KPI that people know what they're about?
There is a corporate staff survey which deals with that particular question. We're waiting for that to happen. But what we're also doing through the management teams is reinforcing the link between the council's priorities and the work that frontline staff do. So hopefully that will address that.
So, and finally, thank you. The immediate status for the control where tasks need to be done within allocated times, and it's got managers to attend training courses. I take it that's ongoing, and do we have is that going to be continuous, or is there a period when that initiative, as it were, finishes and we know it's all done so everybody's kind of up to speed?
It, in effect, is a continuous issue for us, and with the churn in staff and the movement in staff, it is a continuing need to train managers in particular in that issue.
Can I just follow on for that point? And Bill, obviously succession planning is really important for the department, so that training requirement is obviously involved in their succession planning, their individual plan.
That's correct, yes.
Thanks, Chair. It's just in the management standards, conflicting demands covering for absent staff causes issues in some services. Morale is low. Would you like to elaborate on that a wee bit, Bill?
I wish I could, Councillor. It's this is the result of feedback from a stress survey which was undertaken across the council, and the nature of the questions sometimes gives us the wrong answer. For example, one of the questions is, do you have control over your work? Can you plan it yourself? And of course, all of our care staff and all of our catering staff say no, because they're constrained by what they do. So in some cases, what we get back is a false negative, if you like. But it is something we look at. I think morale in the services is generally good at the moment, because they're all delivering worthwhile services. There are pockets where things happen, there's a long-term absence, and somebody will get disheartened by carrying the load. But we do our best to try and manage through that and supply, either reduce the workload where we can, or to move people around so that is managed. But you will still get people saying that in a survey, unfortunately. James, do you want to add anything to that?
Not really, just probably the PDR process is something as well that we pick up on with regards to roles and responsibilities of each individual, and a line manager will speak to that employee, so they go through the roles and responsibilities and what's expected of them. That links into the council priorities and commitments. So, and again, that's a PI that we have, and we'll come back here. It is very hard with regards to the control side. As Bill pointed out there, 15-minute slots for home carers, or school crossing patrol has to be at the place of work between the back 8 till 9 o'clock. So they are restricted, but on the whole, the other services do and can plan their work, you know, neighbourhood, road service, such like, but you know, the majority of our staff in DGFirst are CAS and FM, so that's why it sort of came out that way in the action plan.
I was going to make a light-hearted joke in the form of a question, but it's probably inappropriate, so I'll maybe leave it. It was really to do with under relationships. It does acknowledge that sometimes there's friction between staff. Is that because they're standing too close together?
I don't think I should comment on that one.
Okay, thanks for that. We'll go to the recommendations. The members are asked to note and comment on the stretch action plan for 2014 as set out in the appendix. Is that noted? Okay, I see Kenny's here from Comskin. I don't know if you were in earlier on about looking at the pothole side of things. Can we organise some sort of release, press release for that, and that would cover the action that Stephen talked about? Excellent, thank you. Yeah. There isn't any other business, however, that concludes the formal business of the committee. I've asked the director to arrange some short presentations on what's going on. They need a couple of minutes to set up the projector and things like that, so could we have a coffee break and come back at, let's say, 11 o'clock? Would that be okay?